What is all the Switch news coming through?
No, I was talking to Brent earlier.
Switch
that
news?
Nintendo's killing off the 3DS and the Wii U
What are you talking
online for
about?
like the 85th time. So
How many times are they killing it?
I guess you can't even play games online anymore after April.
At all?
They just announced. Yeah.
Woo!
So it's the same old Nintendo thing. Get used to not owning or using your own.
Yeah, pretty good. That's pretty good, Cesar.
Nothing new.
No, it's not. It's nothing new. 'Tis the huge. There's our notification. Are we all playable characters?
There it goes. See on YouTube.
Nothing new. No, it's not. It's nothing new. We're in there. We're in there, lads.
If the Power Glove fits.
Must have quit.
Oof, too soon.
Anybody ever have a Power Glove? I don't think I've ever even seen one.
No. I've never seen one in real life.
Cesar, was that a Cesar item?
No, I don't even have one. I only saw it in the Wizard. That was it.
The first Nintendo Direct?
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers 3.
The first Nintendo _Direct. Developer
It's the only time
Direct.
Only time I've ever seen one. So.
I mean, I've seen pictures of them, but...
You're on this big NES kick. You need to go buy one.
How much is a Power Glove? Working.
I figured you'd...
Without looking it up.
$150.
Oh, no.
How much is an
looking
NES
it up.
Power Glove? I'm going with $100.
I'm going with $150.
Yeah, $150, $150.
Here's complete box and manual for $600.
Good lord. Yep, I see that.
Loose for...
Yeah, 148. That one's in box as well. That's 170.
So gross. It even looks gross.
Controller.
What a shit accessory.
Dude, that's full in box and it's 127.
No. Just say no brands. Japanese one for 141 for the Famicom.
Put it in there and then touch your eyes and get that red
eye.
Retro disease.
Yeah, get that 1980s pink eye. It's been growing
1980s pink eye. It's been eradicated since then, but we're bringing it back via the Power Glove, the imported Power Glove.
Get the retro
so you go
pink
to
eye.
your doctor and they're like, I don't know how we can't cure this disease. We haven't seen this in like 30 years. It came back strong.
I don't know, Doc. I just put on the Power Glove.
Just wipe the sweat from my eyes.
Yeah. That's our holy shit.
But Richard, you can just do this and play Outrun with the Power Glove.
I don't think it works that way.
Oh, of course it'll work that way.
Just
They
like
showed
the
it.
Kinect.
They showed it in the
Just
movie.
like the Kinect.
Oh my gosh, it looks freaking terrible.
Somebody has to own it.
Power Gloves for all. Is that our first Patreon tier? Power Gloves.
For it to get thrown in my closet and never seen again, it ain't worth it. It'd be wasted on me.
I'll cover it maybe with games tinkered with, but I did stare at my 3D glasses as I put them on. Like, who wore these last? Who put these over their eyeballs? Is this safe? And I wiped them down with my shirt. Like, that's gonna be fine. Everything's fine.
After some Lysol.
What do I clean them with? I thought mine had bad batteries, but apparently it's working.
The same whatever spray they use
bowling
on the
alley
bowling
shoes
there.
Brent, you're pumping your Power Glove through full of bowling alley spray.
Yeah, I'm taking my Power Glove to the bowling alley. Can y'all disinfect this? Can I see that spray that you've got behind the counter?
So this is a Wendy's.
Oh, okay.
Do you still have a spray? I'm sure you got some sort of disinfectant in here.
Y'all got some kind of spray back there. Can you deep fry my Power Glove?
Deep fried Power Glove. Gotta get some honey mustard with that, or some zesty sauce.
I mean, you got to put mayonnaise on it and then deep fry. That's That's the way to do it.
Southern style. Could I get this Power Glove Southern style?
I mean,
these are good bits, man. We're wasting all our good bits on the pre-show.
Who does? Wisconsin does it, right? Green Bay does
Cheese
fried
heads?
mayonnaise balls, dude.
They do fried mayonnaise balls in Wisconsin?
I think so.
Sounds disgusting. They do the cheese curds.
That's all it is mayonnaise with batter?
Yeah. So, I think...
that sounds disgusting.
When people get the ability to fry stuff, I mean, you saw that whole episode of King of the Hill. I mean, they sat there and were like, do we fry this banana? Everything tastes better fried.
Humanity was a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, we got 4 people across 2 platforms. Y'all ready to get rolling? How long we been live? 10 minutes?
At some point.
Yeah, 5 minute. 5 minute lead in is solid. We got to get going. It's almost 8:30. I don't know. News might be briefish, and I haven't played a shit ton, so. But
yeah, I haven't played anything.
I think it's just more Warzone. I apparently didn't turn off my Xbox because it's just shining at me from over there. Your shiny Xbox. You guys ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 289 of the NOFODcast. We are No Outside Food or Drink, the Southeast premier video game podcast. I have nothing else. I usually have something else to add in there. An Indiana Jones recap podcast.
The Southeast premier Power Glove podcast.
Yeah, the pre-show. Come for the pre-show and hang around for the show, but listen to the nasty Power Glove scenarios in which Cesar recovers a 30-year-old pink eye disease.
Or you decide to go finally schedule your eye appointment that you've been holding on for the last 3 years to get for your regular checkup.
These same contacts that I've been using since Brent came on the show, and they're supposed to be bi-weekly.
Oh.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine here. Use my benefit. I should use my benefit. It's okay, Cesar. I'm spraying my contacts with the bowling alley solution that Brant is using on his Power Glove to save your eyes.
No, the contacts, they've got to go in that you should put it in that blue liquid, the Barbasol.
The Dennis Nedry embryo stuff?
Sure.
Did y'all see there was a Jurassic Park can that had, like, on the back of it, the ingredients had, like, the dinosaurs listed on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Belicia's trying to infect me with, what was that, Enrique Iglesias? I Can Be Your Hero, Baby? It's not going to work. Unless one of y'all starts singing it. It's not going to work this time. Wash away
your pain.
China.
Not going to wash away your pain.
Yeah. Well done, Cesar.
Keep going.
I think that's the only one I know.
Was this on a Just Dance or a Karaoke Hero or one of those titles?
No telling. It could be on a Rock Band thing. I think I played it on.
Bleach, you want to do that on Rock Band? You want to make that our stream after Gears? If we ever get around to finishing Gears?
See.
Still stuck. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it since we left, but here we go. Tonight, what are we, the premier Power Glove podcast? Is that how we left it? Tonight's news. I almost thought we were still in the pre-show. Tonight's news, we have the news from your Xbox Developer _Direct, coming directly to you from Atlanta, Georgia. UK's pre-owned games are ending. Totally? What does that mean? Rock Band set list to come to a close, ? And get used to not owning games. I don't think I ever want to get used to not owning games. That doesn't make any sense. Find out later in the news. I'm one of your podcast co-hosts, Richard Bergman, joined tonight by 25% Newsmaster contributor, Brant McKee.
Yep. What's up?
Brant, sometimes I get bored and I do the news. It's no slight on you. I just get to slight you in the news. And our resident lore master and page master, Cesar Concepcion II. Cesar, welcome. Cesar, are you going to get, as one of the qualifying iOS devices, are you going to be playing Death Stranding on your iOS device soon?
I could.
You could.
I do
Did you see that?
I could play it. Mm-hmm.
That
Is it free?
Death Stranding
Gotta pay
Director's
something
Cut. It's 50% off for pre-orders, which puts it
How
at
much?
$19.99.
I'm not paying $19 for it. Yeah,
I've bought it on like
Yeah,
four
when
different
you had
platforms.
me 50% off, it was like $10. It's like fuck it, I'll try it for $10. But not for 20.
Not for 20. It's outside your buy price.
No, I got I can play it on Steam Deck. I can play it on PS4. I can play it on PS5. I think they had it on Game Pass, so I can play it on the Windows Store here. I think I have it on there. I'm not going
That's
out my
enough.
way to.
I supported it. I have the baby edition.
Yeah.
I've got the baby in the closet somewhere.
I have the PS4
Yeah,
Pro with the handprint on there.
You have that one too?
So, my PS4 Pro with the handprint. I'm looking at
No.
it right now. It's still hooked up. Yeah. It's like a fucking Oreo. Like somebody's gonna look at it like, damn, what happened to the Oreos over here? I was like, don't worry.
Cesar, that snuck into our Game of the Year list that year, didn't it? Was that 2020 or 2019? It was like right before the pandemic.
I think you talked about it a lot. I just think you wanted to come back to it, and you just never did. So.
But I put a lot of time into those like 3 chapters or whatever it was. Yeah.
And you heard that the second one's going to be living on the beach now. So.
Isn't that what we were doing in the first one? Like the whole world was a beach with footprints.
It was the most Kojima thing ever to call Death Stranding 2 on the beach.
It's not DS Death Stranding, it's developer system. It's not dual screen.
Yeah.
The DS is developer system. I wonder how that will play on Portal. Might be a good Portal game, right? Didn't they give us the digital copy of that? Death Stranding?
I'm sure it came on PlayStation Plus at some point.
They...
We got so many versions of that game floating around.
I feel like they did. We got it in a Humble Bundle one time.
Do you have a extra or premium at the moment? Because I think it's just in one of those tiers to download.
It should just be in, like Brant said, it should just be in the extra. The premium's all that bullshit retro games they got in there, which is PS4 games half the time that came from PS2 games. They came from PS4
Or
games.
like the Disney PS1 games. I think I'm kind of still in the camp with Brant to drop down to extra when that time comes. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I still got to the end of 2025. So far, it's been fruitful. So I got it the end of 2025 for my PlayStation 1. I'll figure it out then, and then I've been farming my free points on Microsoft, and I got to the end of 2025 that I have not played anything for Game Pass for the last 2 years.
That's good.
So it works. I haven't paid nothing for these subscription services.
That's a plus.
So
yeah, I have to look at that one. I think mine's this year for some reason. I think we did that convert when they announced the new system. I think mine is this year. I have to look at it. Xbox Developer Direct. Let's get into the news. This was a cool one, and there was a little surprise in there. So we knew going in that we're going to talk about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That name is kind of... Ooh, that name sucks.
it's like a Peppa Pig special.
God, maybe it'll... Yes, it is. Or like your featured Sesame Street shape of the day. I don't know what else. The Great Circle, that sucks so bad, but...
I don't know, man. What was it? What are the other ones? Fate of Atlantis, Emperor's Tomb.
Yeah. Last Crusade.
Infernal Machine.
Machine, that's a good one. The Staff of Kings. Yeah. Temple of Doom. Like, all these things are... they don't sound like a geometry exam. Indiana Jones he is a professor. That's the dupe.
Calculate the circumference of the Great Circle.
That's what it is. It's almost like Halo 2 or Metal Gear Solid 2, where it's a bait and switch. You think you're playing as Indiana Jones, but it's just a test. It's a geometry test for the whole second half of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they want me to spend 100 hours easy. It's like, find the right angle. And I'm like, I'll be there for 100 hours.
Oh, back in 10th grade. Why?
Oh no.
No, 90 degrees. I don't understand. I know.
Can we make this a multiplayer game? I might get it faster with the community helping.
That we're all dumb in there together.
Mm-hmm. That was also my geometry class. Go on. You're still describing the same experience I got in 10th grade. All jokes aside, Indiana Jones: The Great Circle confirmed to come out 2024. It looked really, really good. This is Machine Games. This is the people behind Wolfenstein. You play as Indy in first person. The whip is in first person. The whip mechanic looked very solid. Almost like a grapple hook in, say, a Metroid game or a Castlevania game, that sort of thing. And your traversal is in third person. So when you're doing the inevitable yellow brick jumping like Uncharted style or climbing up pipes is what they showed in that trailer. Boosh says PSAT simulator. That's fair too. That also checks out for those that have had to take that test as well. It looked good. What'd y'all think about Indiana Jones? That's not what they led off with, but that's where our jokes led us to. That's what they wrapped up the show with, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it looks
are you on the article that you picked?
I am. I'm on the Xbox Wire. I just immediately segued into Indiana Jones.
It is the Xbox Wire.
Which didn't have a whole lot of details. It just, they showed 13 minutes of gameplay, had some developer insights according to the Xbox Wire. They mentioned that it was the Wolfenstein team.
I mean, it would look good. This whole show was pretty good. It showed something almost every quarter this year, like they've been saying that was going to be happening at this point. So
a good outline. We haven't gotten an outline like this from Xbox, right? Like with these big heavy hitters. Like this is a Sony/Nintendo style presentation of here's what's coming this quarter. Here's what's coming this quarter.
Yeah, because Matt Booty said at that point they cleared that point that they finally hit their stride after all these years with all these studios they bought, that something was coming every quarter, like a major release.
That's all we've been asking for what, 8 years? Since we started the show? Renee says he feels like Indiana is not going to be good. This is not Fort Wayne. Renee, if you're just joining us, Renee, this is not Fort Wayne, Indiana. This is Indiana Jones. I think it looks good. Of course, the non-Harrison Ford, the Troy Baker version of Indiana Jones kind of stood out to me. It's one of those few. It's not Uncanny Valley, but remember all those Star Wars games that had Darth Vader but not James Earl Jones, and you immediately were like, okay, that's a version.
Well,
of him.
there were some lines you're like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound bad, and then you're like, no, that's not Harrison Ford. Oh, that doesn't.
But they're using his likeness, just like Emperor's Tomb that you mentioned. Brant. It looks like Harrison Ford, but it's Farrison Horde. It's not quite the same. It's not quite what you were expecting from the voice performance. It looks good though.
I was about to say I didn't look at anything. I just watched the trailer, and I thought it looked really, really good. And then I the hate for the first person stuff.
No, so it looks great. That's the way you want to explore those worlds, right?
I mean, it's Machine Gun Games, so they've done first-person shooters. Right. People had set these weird expectations, like this is our Uncharted we haven't had in like so many years, and then so I think just going in there like, all right, this is a new developer for a different IP. Mm-hmm. Why people are already in there comparing the two, so
that's an interesting comparison. Yeah,
I think that's what those people were disappointed. I come in with no expectations because I try not to sell myself up, but I mean it's Machine Gun Games, which they've only done first-person shooters.
Machine games,
the third-person
and they're great.
Machine guns.
They're great at first-person Nazi killing. Wolfenstein was on my games of the year list last year. Wolfenstein: The New Order. That was a fantastic Nazi killing game, and Indiana Jones is all about killing Nazis.
Yep.
And exploration, and you can't do that in first person. Metroid Prime says otherwise.
I don't know. For some reason, people were like really harping in. Oh, this shouldn't be first person. I can't believe it. This is gonna suck. And
I didn't see that.
Was like in every comment on there.
Wow.
I didn't watch it live. I went back after the fact. So
was that y'all's impression?
No, I thought it looked great.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be a replacement for Uncharted, so I wasn't disappointed.
No,
so.
And that literally was. People kept saying, "Oh well, Tomb Raider, oh Uncharted." I'm like, we need these third-person, semi-platforming puzzle, blah blah blah, and they just kept comparing what they already know and what their, like Cesar was saying, their perceived notion, what they want it to be. But you got to give it a chance. It looks good. So
it looks fantastic. I appreciate the segment they gave to it on the soundtrack. Like they isolated a composer they wanted who has reverence for the John Williams score and seemed to incorporate a bunch of those themes. And of course, we're going to get the Raiders March, but it seems like they're also going to... What is Indiana Jones without the music? That's a huge part of those themes of the Imperial March and the Well of Souls and the Knights Templar. Remember that when they finally made it to the tomb and the knight was like standing up and he had that big bold theme from the the Knights Templar. It's great, man. That's so much of that is part of the atmosphere, and these people know how to make video games. This is the crew to have an Indiana Jones game. And if you want that Tomb Raider style one, play the Xbox one, right? Emperor's Tomb. That's not going to be a modern take on that, but it's going to be that same style PS2 Tomb Raider style game. It's not quite an Uncharted, I don't think.
I still remember that trailer they have on the Steam version of that game where it just shows a shark biting the shit out of him.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
On Emperor's Tomb?
Funny. Yeah. If you go watch it, it just shows them getting the shit bitten out of them. Yeah.
I thought about streaming some of that for the original Xbox. The Steam one has a trailer of a shark biting him. Does he die, or does it just biting his arm or something?
I think they just leaned into the wacky shit in there.
That's awesome.
I remember watching. It's like, man, this is weird that they would go to this, and like he's in there, and the shark's biting the shit out of him.
Oh, the deep Indiana Jones shark biting lore. The show, of course, let's backpedal if y'all ready to move on from Indy. The show, of course, started off with Avowed, and this is the upcoming Obsidian first person. Was anybody up in arms about this one being first person? How does this work?
No.
When do you decide to turn the switch on and off? I don't know what. How do we appease the masses on this presentation style?
I don't know, but this is the kind of very Skyrim game. That's what it reminded me of.
This looks fantastic. Also, by the way,
it does look really good.
That's all bows. That's all I need. Give me some bows in one of these type games.
Bows and wands and
so think
swords.
As Brant said, think Skyrim. Think it's Obsidian, right? So this is your team behind Fallout New Vegas, even though it's been 11 or 12 years since that game came out.
Jeez.
It doesn't seem like that long, does it?
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. Has Obsidian, did they have multiple teams? Didn't they do Grounded for Game Pass since that merger?
Yeah, I think there are two teams.
Okay, so they kind of alternate between the first-person RPG style stuff they're known for more recently along with the other stuff. Did Grounded ever take off?
I think it did. It was kind of like Sea of Thieves. I wouldn't be surprised if they looked at porting Grounded off to other platforms
and there ends up
grow the player base.
Because Sea of Thieves kind of had a renaissance as well.
Base, so. Yeah.
Did anybody on here ever try that out? I never messed with Grounded either. Looked like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, right? With like big bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I associated it with, and I was like, okay, that game's still around. Next up, we saw some of, and I've since downloaded the first one. I have yet to pick it back up, but I've got to beat this game before the second one comes out. The first one is not very long, and it was a game club game for us 1 month, and I never finished it.
And you were the only one.
I was the only one that didn't finish it. But every bit I played of it was very, very good. And now we've got the Series X like optimized version, so that's definitely gonna be the way to go. But it's a Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, which is launching May 21st for Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Cloud, and then that is, of course, a Game Pass Day 1 title. That looks.
Thank you for finally giving us a release date.
Yeah,
Microsoft.
Was it?
Because they've been showing it since the
Game Awards.
Since the reveal of the Xbox Series X.
Was that 2019? Yeah. And then it launched in 2020?
Yeah.
Wow. Or was that Summer Games Fest and then launch 5 months later or whatever?
I thought,
or was it Game Fest?
It was in the Video Game Awards, remember? Because was
so like almost a year between announcement and the launch of the system, and then it's going to be 4 years since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the controversy with this is the game's only like 10 hours or something like that.
I know the first one is short. Is the second one also brief like that? Okay.
Yeah, they're saying it's pretty straight to the point. So.
But they go for a very specific storytelling element with this, where it's fully motion captured. She won an award at the Game Awards, I believe, that next year for the motion capture performance. And I thought the controversy we were going to say is it's digital only. You cannot purchase a physical copy of Hellblade 2. Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure I have a copy of Hellblade 1 on 2 systems, I think.
Yeah. And
the Steam copy. Like, I've supported Hellblade. Why not put a physical copy out there for people? But maybe this is part of that Game Pass push, and maybe part of that digital future we're going to be talking about later on. Which I hate, which sucks. As I fired up some PS3 games from 2011 today and just played them. I remember bitching about those downloads then. Like, of course it has a patch or whatever, and it was only like 50 megs. No, I have to wait for it to install to my hard drive and download a 1 gig patch.
No, my bad. Yeah, I think the worst one was Bayonetta, because I think they had that one was like a 4 or 5 gig patch. I remember that because that game ran like shit on PS.
Yeah. They ended up patching it. Did it run fine after the patch?
Yeah, because I think it was optimized for 360, and it just I think the problem was because it ran fine on 360 because it loaded off the DVD, which was quicker.
Right.
And that they had to patch the PS3 one to do an install to help with the bad load times, because it was just bad. It was so bad.
So what Cesar's bringing up is the Blu-ray ROM, of course, had way more storage space than a DVD ROM, but your read-write speed was compromised on the Blu-ray, so it didn't stream as much, or maybe that was the PS3 architecture, but it did not stream as fast from the Blu-ray ROM as it would have a DVD ROM. And so some of those, so you get that effect with like texture loading and pop-in for certain titles on PS3 versus the Xbox, but that's where the gurus of like Naughty Dog and Blue Point, where they really mastered that PS3 architecture and were able to leverage those weaknesses. It's the same thing as 64. I kind of think of it as the bottleneck of the 64 as well. Those who were able to really leverage the weakness and not let it affect the gameplay, they were fine with it.
I mean, Nintendo's are master of that, so.
Yeah, they are. The first party for sure. And we named Naughty Dog and Blue Point. It's pretty much the same for PS3. Damn, I had another note on that, but I can't remember what it was, but that was a good PS3 sidebar. That was it for Hellblade? Was that all the major Hellblade announcements? There was some cool behind-the-scenes stuff, like with the motion capture again.
I think you can pre-install it now if you get Game Pass. So.
I know I've pre-installed the first one, so I need to play that before the second one comes out. If only there was an Xbox Portal, I think I would play the... But I'm not getting the benefit of the DualSense and stuff, so I could do an iPad or something like that and just do remote play. Or maybe look at my Steam Deck again and try to figure that out. Renee says, one of my friends mentioned that it will be his last generation of gaming. Why would you give up gaming after this? Why would you be out? What's the purpose behind that? Was this a sidebar, like the surprise bit? So the Xbox Direct was the developer Direct was really cool. They started off showing the 4 stories they were going to talk about, and it was kind of already known that these were the 4 things. And so I was watching it, and I texted Cesar. I was like, "That was a pretty cool transition. Are you watching the show?" He's like, "No, I'm busy right now." And I was like, "I won't mess with it for you. Just watch it later on, that sort of thing." But they had these 4 grids showing the games that they were gonna talk about, and then after the second one, they kind of another one like popped in there. So it was a cheeky little surprise, is how I put it. And we got kind of a developer breakdown from Square Enix on the new Visions of Mana game, in which they talked about the original art team developing those sprites into what these 3D versions are going to look like in Visions of Mana. We saw a lot more of the open world gameplay. Like that looks amazing. That art style, it just looks timeless. I'm a sucker for Mana games. I've not played one I disliked, but this looks solid to me. I thought it was going to be a Game Pass announcement. Did y'all see that?
It's not.
I don't think it is either. Not. And then that kind of strays away from some of the recent Xbox messaging where they're only going to show off Game Pass titles, right? Here's the ones coming to our service. This was a neat offshoot, and I feel like Cesar was talking last week about Phil Spencer said, "Hey, there's gonna be more Japanese stuff coming up. We've been reaching out and repairing some of those relationships. You know that's coming." So I feel like he mentioned that.
There's a lot of fans that want those type of games on that console that seem to be glossed over. So I think that's probably why they're gonna probably highlight that a lot, because you got their deals with Sega. So I mean, you got Persona and all that coming over there, and a lot of that's coming to Game Pass, and so I mean, they're trying to address some of those stuff. So,
and they have tried with each generation. I feel like they didn't so much with Xbox One, because the most I would say the most prestigious Xbox One Japanese game would have been Scalebound, right? And the rug got pulled out from underneath that one. And it almost seems like that entire generation got pulled out from underneath them. But with the first Xbox, we had all those Sega Smile-Bit games. We had Panzer Dragoon. We had Jet Set Radio. We had a very Dreamcast 2-esque influence on the original Xbox. And then with the 360, they came out guns blazing. They had Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey. I was going to say Fable. Fable's not a Japanese RPG. But they came out pushing those type of titles. Final Fantasy 13 came to 360, day and date with the PS3 version. Yeah, that was massive. People don't understand. That was huge.
They did a lot in 360. Yeah. I mean, remember they pulled Grand Theft Auto 4. Got the DLC first. There's a lot of stuff they learned from their previous generations that people wanted that they kind of addressed.
So I'm hoping this is more of that push. Cesar, did you say at this show or previous about the Atlas games? Like that's also part of that big push. The Persona games are coming to
Persona, and like almost, which is weird because you got the new Yakuza, which is or like a Dragon, which is a RPG base right now at the moment. And then you have less than a week later, you have Persona coming out. It's weird that they had this competition between Sega and all these big tier games. So, but yeah, I don't know if Yakuza's Game Pass day one, but we know Persona 3 remake is. So
yeah. And people are clamoring for that one, so that's a huge get.
I mean, yeah, those reviews on that and Tekken 8 are very, very good. So
Tekken 8's coming to Xbox? For some reason, I thought it was PS5 and PS4. Right, not Game Pass, but Xbox.
No, it's yeah. It's coming to both of those are coming to current gen consoles.
So, Visions of Mana back to the Xbox Developer Direct. The first mainline entry in the series in over 15 years. What was the last one? Dawn of Mana for PS2? Or the DS ones? Children of Mana?
Children of Mana could be any of those. So, I mean, they've been doing remakes for the last...
Wow, they have.
Since the Vita, since they remade the first 3 games. Because they did that, Secret of Mana. Then we got the Fable 3rd game.
Yeah.
So they've been working on this style for a while. It seems like they kind of evolved from that 3rd game they remade and kind of took it from that direction. So they've been learning from it because a lot of people were not happy with that Adventures of Mana on the Vita. It was very cell phone-esque.
It feels like, yes, I remember.
Secret of Mana, a lot of people weren't happy with going it the way it was turned to 3D, so.
I didn't pay for that cell phone one that you were talking about. I remember seeing screens of it, and it was just like, this is so stale and uninspired, which is not the Mana aesthetic or art style or presentation. Like, none of that lends towards that franchise where it seems uninspired and dialed in. Yeah, I remember.
It's been interesting because like they've been done with Mana is they've been doing the same thing with Romancing Saga.
Yeah,
because now we get the first and like we're getting the first brand new Romancing Saga in like X amount of years, but they've been doing so many remakes of all those past games for the last 7 years. So.
But that's almost the right mix, right? Bring your classic stuff to a consumable format for current gen stuff, and then eventually get to the point where you're developing new stuff. Like Trials of Mana, we got it in that Mana collection as the Super Nintendo one, right? They translated it and everything, and we got the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, that was the Switch one, right? I think Switch and Steam, right? It came out on Steam
yes.
also, maybe.
Is that on Steam?
I know
it's on Switch for sure.
I think the one on Steam might be the Saga one, Collection of Saga, which was the Game Boy ones.
But the Seiken Densetsu collection was definitely Switch, we know for sure.
Yeah.
And then Trials of Mana came out for Switch and PC and PS4. And that was like a 3D remake of that third Seiken Densetsu. And like Cesar was saying, that style's kind of persevered to this Visions of Mana. Looks good. I love that art style. I can't wait to see that on OLED. And see it pop. I don't know if Xbox will be the way I go get that, but for those who have an Xbox and were worried about they would miss this franchise, it's a big get for Square Enix and Xbox, I think. Renee's not saying anything on this one.
I mean, a lot of people weren't happy about the Square Enix output on the Xbox, so
yeah.
Microsoft's kind of trying to.
And Phil Spencer said he was going to go do that, right? We're going to build this relationship. We're going to get these titles over.
I'm glad they finally ironed out the Final Fantasy 14 because they've been flirting with that for like the last almost.
That's another
10 years
big
now at this
one.
point.
That's a huge one.
Because I know he's been talking for almost half a decade about getting that on their console. I don't know what was the holdup. I think it's probably money related on the subscription services and all that. So
it always is, right? Like why are we going to pay for this infrastructure on top of Xbox Live? What's the reason for having this extra tier on top of that? They have to figure that stuff out. Aura History Untold. I don't remember much of. Oh, this is the RTS style one.
This was the PC, coming to Game Pass PC.
That's right. These are the guys that really took influence from like Civilization and StarCraft and some of the isometric world building and city building. It's not strategy RPG. What are they called?
RTS?
Yes, real-time strategy games. Mm-hmm. The key leads at Oxide Games debuted an all-new look at gameplay and shared an overview of the key features coming to Aura History Untold. That was a really cool... You saw this label as Developer Direct, and what does that mean? We're going to get insight from the developer, sure, but you really saw the passion, I feel like, when they were doing this interview as to what their influences were, where they wanted to go, the fact that they finally had the space and the resources to make the game they wanted to make, right? And there was even a bit in the direct where the lead dev or whoever he was, he's being interviewed, and then somebody's walking in the back, and he just starts talking to him, and they kept that honest like back and forth. I like that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's just for camera, but there's an openness to, hey, I'm just telling them about the game we want to make. Sort of the way that comment was delivered. It was really cool, and it seems sincere. And I like more. I hope there's more openings to the development process and the inspirations and the passion that people have. Like, people are watching us to hear us talk about our passion for games, right? You're tuning in for the lens of the NOFODcast personalities as to how you could go find these news stories. We're not creating this news for you. You're hearing our particular lens and our takes based off of our personalities, and I love seeing that from the developers. I knew nothing about this until then, and all of a sudden it's on my radar, and I have a chance to... Is this a Game Pass game? Yes, PC, joining PC Game Pass, as Cesar said, on day one. So this all of a sudden is on my radar as something like, okay, I've seen a little bit more behind this. This might be something I check out.
Man, and I'm hoping that the Valve will get their second OS, because they said that, it's on the roadmap for this year to get the second OS working on there, so you can install Windows on there pretty easily, so we can start playing some of these games. So
on Steam Deck? Oh, that'd be amazing.
That's on the roadmap for this year's easily dual booting OSs. So putting Windows 10 on there,
without all the weird cross stuff or Proton fixes and that sort of thing.
By then, it might be time for you to go ahead and do the 2 terabyte internal upgrade.
I saw one of Slick Deals today. It was like 170. I almost sent it to you guys.
It might be time at that when they get Windows 10. It's time. I'm not doing it unless Windows 10's on there, because you'll need it for Windows 10 or Windows 11. Excuse me.
Okay, let's do it. If it comes to that, we all do that. We have an upgrade party. We put those drives in there.
I could tell you, a friend of the show, Renee, bought his Steam Deck today.
Nice.
So. Hey.
He's going into PC gaming. I don't think he's ever had PC.
What did he get?
So.
Does he have a Steam library?
He set up one. Yeah, I think he has like one game on there. I think he has a friend. Tell him to invite you as a friend.
I also saw that you can share your library. Is that something you can just like shoot to him for him to partake in those games at the same time?
I have to read into that, because I think you can. It's kind of like a friend list, kind of like, I think you can send somebody like, hey, if you're on my family household, I think you can give them access to games. But I think it's similar to like Xbox. So like if you can't play the same game at the same time, and the same old rules that any other one goes on there. But I think it's Valve. I think it's a little bit more liberal.
They are
game sharing than it is like Sony, like, oh, we'll ban your fucking console,
I looked into it a little bit because I was trying to convince a friend of the show, Russell, to grab a Steam Deck when he was remember he was in that Baldur's Gate 3 phase? He was all up in it, and I was like, okay, listen, I have 1,100 Steam games. Buy that one. That's fine. If you want to get the Steam Deck, buy that one. We'll throw it in our library, and I will share that library of 1,100 games with you. What the conflict might come up, we both want to play Halo at the same time. We'll probably play it on Xbox Series X together and have the headsets and do all that. We won't be sitting there on the Steam Deck playing Halo. I was like, that's probably never going to come up, but you'll have access to all the titles that I've been hoarding in the Steam library.
Well, yeah, I don't think it'd ever come up because it's a pain in the ass to play multiplayer on that game, remember?
Yeah.
Because of the anti-cheat.
Yeah, it's like a weird workaround. You have to go in there and do a registry edit type thing almost on the.
By then you just fire up an Xbox.
Yeah, it's way much easier. Or just fire up an original Xbox and play it. It's way easier. All right, was that it from the Xbox Developers Direct? They did some more stuff on Elder Scrolls Online, but I didn't stay around for that second hour of stuff.
That was like a fucking hour of that. But I think it's just all it really hit was that there was a new expansion coming out, and for people who enjoy that, and that's
the interim where it was in between the Xbox Developer Direct and that ESO thing. The guy was like cooking stuff from Elder Scrolls. Russell and I were chatting back and forth like, man, that soup looks pretty good. He was like chopping up potatoes and onions and carrots and beef and all kinds of stuff. He was making this stew, and I was like, damn, this looks pretty good. I just hung around for that. I never watched any ESO gameplay. I just watched them make the stew on the stream. It was interesting. That was our ESO lore dump of the day. Was some recipes. All right, I'm tired of talking.
Sweet rolls or whatever you call it.
Oh, you stole my sweet roll. Renee says he only purchased one game from Steam. Do you know what the game is? Sorry, is that why you brought it up? You know what the game is?
I don't know. I can.
Don't worry about it.
He's on my friends.
We'll let Renee out himself in case it's like a naughty Mahjong game.
He doesn't have. I don't think there's anything naughty in here.
What is the
I don't
one
know, maybe
game?
It is.
Trucker Simulator 2023.
No.
Ice Road Truckers.
Maybe not. Renee, hide your game history.
Don't let your cousin out you. Bleach says Trombone Champ. That needs to be a Steam game. It's out on Switch now, but Renee's anti-Switch, so I don't know if he has it for that.
It looks interesting. Brand, you might play the shit out of this. Evil Tonight.
What is it?
That's his one Steam game? Yep. How did you get it? How did Renee... Did somebody gift it to him?
No, I just looked up his name in my friends list and looked at his profile, and it's like, one friend already owns this game, and it shows Renee. It's an anime base, but it looks like it's like Resident Evil mixed with Game Boy Advance Castlevania. It's interesting.
Huh.
I've never even heard of this.
Brent said, go on. Okay. You have my interest.
It says fight, survive, explore, solve puzzles, and uncover the mystery of evil tonight. It looks like a Castlevania Advance Resident Evil game. That's what it looks like. I like how it puts on here, notice a controller is strongly recommended to play this game.
Do not do this shit with a mouse and keyboard. All right, UK retailer Game is ending video game trade-ins. Why is that?
Oh, because they want to.
You can dance if you want to.
Let's see, well done. It says it's ending trade-ins. The UK's biggest video game retailer.
So think GameStop over here,
all
right?
Caps, which I think is funny because I think they do have GameStop over there, but it's not as big as Game.
Can we have Game here?
Game.
Wait, no, they're ending pre-game.
No.
They're ending pre-owned games. We don't want them here.
Phasing out trade-ins for physical games next month. Eurogamer first reported that the news earlier this week. Spokesperson for the chain has since confirmed the move in the comment to the BBC. This effectively hands the entire pre-owned market of video games in the UK to rival CEX, which has built up hundreds of stores in the UK dealing in pre-owned video games and electronics. It's the end of an era, just a digital game sales continue to dominate. And it's funny because I went to grab this real quick when I went and got my water. I have purchased stuff from Game. I got the email saying, hey, we're not taking your trade-ins anymore for them. I bought this because it was the only way you could buy this. As they sold it in Europe, and I had bought this, and they do ship to the United States. So,
but yeah, all they're doing is, which is kind of insane when you think about it. They're stopping the pre-owned stuff, which I'm sure with your time in retail, that was how these
bread and
places
butter.
like
Rhino bread and butter brand,
Funko and GameStop. That was their money. They'd love to give you, oh, sorry, we know you brought this brand new game that you just bought 2 days ago but we're going to give you $1 for it, and then we're going to throw it back up on the shelf for probably $2 less.
So new games
than what you bought it
then were $50. So a brand new game was $49.99. Pre-owned copy was $44.99. You got your 10% off with your membership, so that dropped that price down another $5. So that was already a good value prospect for the consumer. If they came in that week, they were probably guaranteed to find at least one pre-owned copy. Now, I think I said this last week, you can't find a pre-owned copy of a fucking game at GameStop within 50 fucking miles of a game that's come out within the past 6 months. They just don't have it.
Richard, you remember the days when there was a certain area, ends with the Dales of the Rivers, which had new release games before they were used, before they were even
Yes. I had a customer that would come into my store with, they knew our policy was 2 copies for each console. It could not be sealed, so their, Madden 2005 would come out, and we would have 2 copies for Xbox, 2 copies for GameCube, 2 copies for PS2, just the discs traded in for cash the very next day. And we're making a case and all that stuff for it. So I don't know where those copies were coming from, but there was definitely a market for, and they were not all illegitimate. The illegitimate ones are 1% of the ones that were traded in. But you had this flow of, you beat it, you played it. Games were more linear. They didn't have the online elements. They didn't have the live service element. You beat it over the weekend. You brought it back in. You got $30 on your 50 to put towards something else. And then we had a profit margin to work with for the other side. They fucked up their business model, and I guess people know, but it's all based off people buying physical games, and the episode that we have crafted here is going to go in that direction, but people don't buy games anymore in that capacity. There is a gamer who plays, I would say, 40 hours of games in my household currently. They own 0 physical copies of any video games. None. They don't have a physical copy of anything that they own. That they own. They have a digital license that they purchased. That gives them access to the things they've bought. I'm like, okay, that's where things are.
I got a coworker who's the same way. He has an Xbox. Everything's digital. He showed me his setup. It's nice. It's clean. He has like a nice clean room. Doesn't have Blu-rays, games everywhere. I get it. He doesn't have to worry about that shit. And so I look at it sometimes.
It might be kind of nice. That might be kind of nice.
Life is easier. Yeah, you don't have to sit there and worry about stacking shit on stack and then looking at what you have. And so, but I mean, on the other hand, you're right. That stuff can eventually disappear and go away. But I mean, there is that aesthetic where, I mean, some people it's just a hobby. So like they don't mind.
I always thought that was going to be. I always thought that was going to be a supplement to one's game library. Yes, I buy my games, but I love my online games. I love my Warzone. I love my Halo Infinite. I don't need hard copies. I'm going to let that digital one update, and that's it. And and that's the way I've designed my setup. I'll have a digital library that just kind of updates on its own. I'll have Game Pass games that come to me. If it's a great game, I'll support it physically. I haven't bought a physical Xbox game in Psychonauts. I bought Psychonauts 2. Which was a unique retail experience because you got an Xbox One copy and
$10 a couple weeks back.
I thought you were going to show us Redfall again. It's your new Days Gone. What is that, Cesar, for the audio listeners?
Star Ocean.
Okay.
The Divine Force. It was on sale for $10. I bought it.
It's not bad. It's a series you want to support, and you're showing them, hey, I'm buying a physical copy of this. But Psychonauts 2 came out for Xbox. It had an Xbox One copy and an Xbox Series X, obviously, version of the discs. Murray13 in the chat says, I have a digital Xbox and digital PS5. No hard games. Only soft games.
Amen.
I have maybe 2 discs for the PS4, to be honest. What are those 2 games? I need to know.
It's easy life.
I do not have a problem with digital games. I have a problem with the control they want to take away from the consumer and the option that they want to take away from the consumer. And I mean, Xbox has halfway done that because half of these games that are even physical it's an illusion of choice because like we discovered
life is an illusion of choice.
What was that? The Halo Infinite copy that I have up on my shelf here. It's a coaster. I mean, there's there's what, like
50 megs on that Blu-ray.
50, yeah, maybe 50 megabytes on that Blu-ray, and the rest is a straight download.
It's just an unlock. It's a giant unlock document.
I mean, at the end of the day, I have yet to see a Ultra Blu-ray Xbox game this generation. Yeah. I've yet to see it. I mean, even if you look at the Baldur's Gate 3 physical edition, it's on 3 Xbox discs.
Is Halo Infinite not on one? Is it on a regular Blu-ray?
It's everything on Xbox. They have not moved to Ultra Blu-rays.
Sony really?
An Ultra Blu-rays. So most everything on Xbox is going to require a download. Yeah. Unless you have maybe a handful of games, maybe like the Star Ocean over here. There's certain ones that are probably complete on disc.
Maybe Psychonauts?
Playable. Psychonauts is probably one of them, yeah.
Gaming Kitty. Well, I don't know if you can get my lap. Murmy elaborated on the 2 discs for the PS4, Spyro and Crash. And Boosh says, I'm lazy. Don't want to get up to switch discs out. Switch uses cartridges, not discs. But yes, you don't want to switch discs out. We'll get that too. Because I kept Final Fantasy 16 in my PS5 for 6 months as I was plugging away at it on the portal and such. I get the convenience of that, especially having the portal. It's like, hey, I'll have all that digital stuff there and I don't have to swap discs out. But long term, those licenses are only there as long as they want me to have them. When they decide they don't want to support them or I can't download them, I'm sure we'll talk about the Nintendo news next week, but Nintendo is making some things unplayable off of their online service. So what does that even mean?
I'm like Brand. I'm still waiting for the day that they finally won't let me re-download some of my Wii games on my Wii U. So
yeah,
right now it's still good, but at some point they're going to turn that switch. And the server's going to go away, so. Because like you said earlier, they mentioned on the article with the announcement of the online going away, like for the foreseeable future, you can re-download your patches and games. So for the foreseeable future, they said.
Until someone sets up some private server that you set up DNS to and access that server and get the most recent patches for.
I mean, at this point, I think 3DS has been. I mean, we have ways of playing 3DS games now.
I almost believe any Nintendo console past the current one, you almost have to resort to that level of access to get anything. And if they're not going to make it easy, that's the argument, right? You go get it where it's easy. If you can't, I want to pay for your product. If I can't buy your product, or if there's not an easy way for me to purchase a digital copy of the thing I already have a physical copy of, I don't have any issues in finding it via alternate means. And that's not difficult in this day and age. Like it used to be back in the day, people hired out to mod Xboxes and paying service fees to add chips and soft mod them and such. Murmy says, when Fable leaves Game Pass, it will be a sad day indeed, but I feel like I may survive. Good news, there's a new Fable game coming up that we saw a trailer for last summer? With the one from Moss from IT Crowd. So hopefully that's this year? I want to say next year, but that's 2024, right? That's this year sometime?
I'll probably say next
2025?
Yeah.
God, when you say 2025, it's like, holy shit.
Which is good. I mean, they've been averaging showing a game, wait 4 or 5 years. I mean, they show a game in 2 years, that's an improvement. So that's about the right mark. I mean, I guess their eventual things want to be like Nintendo and Shadow Drop shit within 6 months. So.
And they did that last year with Hi-Fi Rush. We need to give them props for that Hi-Fi Rush Shadow Drop.
I mean, I know that's what Sony wants to do too. So they want to all right, just come out in 6 months. You don't want to sit there and announce shit that gets canceled now at this point. So. Yeah.
They learned that lesson 10 years ago. It feels like they were doing that. Here's the day and date, and got murdered on it. So game is.
We can continue. Yeah, we continue on here. I can keep going to the next article.
Yeah, you're good. It's just the whole pre-owned game loop and trade-ins and such.
Well, don't worry, because you can also lose your digital music.
Can't wait.
As well. So,
like DDR.
Jay Peters has noted after 8 years and almost 3,000 songs, Rock Band 4's DLC drops are ending. Harmonix is going to stop releasing DLC songs for Rock Band 4, which is, like I said, they've been doing at least 1 or 2 every week. Still to this day, I think they did one last week. I forgot what it was. But the Epic Games' own studio announced today the developer has added nearly 3,000 songs to the game as downloadable content over the course of 8 years. But the remarkable run is coming to an end in 2 days. January 25th. If you've already purchased the songs, don't worry. Harmonix says you'll still have access to those even after it stops releasing new DLC. Many of you reading this own a good chunk of the content. We remain committed to protecting that investment. To be clear, you can play the songs you own within Rock Band 4 for as long as you like, as long as Rock Band 4 is playable on future consoles.
As long as
Daniel Sussman, yeah. Harmonix Daniel Sussman, it says in a blog post about the news. Sussman also brought up a Fortnite festival, the musical theme mode, blah blah blah. Plastic. Right now, it's basically Rock Band without the plastic instruments, blah blah blah.
How long until these things are just Fortnite events? Rock Band Fortnite event, PS2 Fortnite event. You just run to a station and play Shadow of the Colossus on a little station inside Fortnite, right? This is the true metaverse, like as much as they've talked about trying to create that stuff. Man.
People are eating it up, so. For now, at least, it might be. Servers might be removed.
What do y'all think those numbers look like as far as like the PS or the Rock Band 4 downloads weekly for the new content drops? What do you think they're? How many people you think are hitting that up every week?
It was enough where they kept doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, you have dedicated people who play Rock Band like that who just want, they want new content, new songs. So, I mean, I'm sure there's several thousand at least that were probably buying every one of those new songs every week. So,
speaking of which, have either of one of y'all dabbled with Rocksmith, where you hook a real guitar up to the console with a cable? Friend of the show, Jeremy, and not the one you're thinking of, lent me a Rocksmith cable, and I'm gonna try to hook up. I think I have Rocksmith for PS3. Might try to hook that up to one of my guitars and see what that's all about. He said his high school age child went from no knowledge to like really playing songs very quickly with Rocksmith. And I've always heard that. I think friend of the show Dale's dabbled in Rocksmith, but it's something it's something that's been on my list. And as I look for training methods and all this kind of stuff and convenience and hey, I can play some video games and maybe get some Rocksmith in. So maybe I stream that. Maybe I hook the PS3 up to this capture card and try to figure out how to do Rocksmith on the...
Yeah.
And I think there's like a PC demo that, of course, PC is like wide open. People import their own songs and do whatever they want to do outside of that console ecosystem. So that might end up being the way to go. But I just need to get started and try it out and see what it's like. Rock Band 4.
And then segue into Brand's favorite part of the show. What's Ubisoft doing now? Ubisoft subscription boss says consumers are still used to owning games. Consumers were, and this is all from VGC by Tom Ivan, consumers were faster to embrace the model of not owning CDs and DVDs, says Philip A. Tremblay. Ubisoft sees tremendous opportunity for growth in subscription services so consumers can get used to not owning games like they have with music, movies, and TV content. On Monday, the publisher rebranded its Ubisoft Plus subscription service, and introducing a new PC offering, which will have Activision soon. Ubisoft Premium, which is available on PC, Xbox, Luna for a monthly fee of $17.99, includes day one access to new releases, a large back catalog of titles, and DLC.
Wait.
Early access to select
I'm pausing you, Cesar. $18. Would that let me try Assassin's Creed Mirage for that $18?
Possibly.
It says it also says includes day one access to new releases, so Prince of Persia would be on that.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So.
I want to play all that stuff with DualSense though. I'm kind of in that phase of I need to see what this is like with DualSense.
So for the PlayStation players, Ubisoft Plus Classic, which has already offered a curated selection of back catalog games, PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium subscribers is now available for PC players too at $7.99 a month. Felipe, director of subscriptions at Ubisoft, told GameIndustry.biz that Ubisoft Plus has attracted millions of subscribers since originally launching as of Uplay Plus September 2019. Thank God Uplay Plus is dead. I hate that fucking name. He claimed 10% of subscribers have never previously played the company's games before, that the service enjoyed its biggest month to date in October 2023. The same month, Ubisoft's SVP is strategic partners. All right, blah, blah, blah. And he goes on to say that, Chris Early predicted a future where physical game sales continue to decline, but he said he doesn't think they'll ever completely go away, which I agree until they take the drives out the consoles. So, or hopefully they'll just put a USB drive in there, kind of like what Sony's doing at some point. But Tremblay reiterated that Ubisoft will continue to offer different ways for players to consume its games. The point is not to force users to go down one route or another. He said, "We offer a purchase, we offer a subscription, and it's the gamer's preference that is important here. We're seeing some people who buy choosing to subscribe now, but it all works." So he goes on to explain, how the transition from DVDs and CDs and how people got comfortable letting those things go and streaming things, which he's not lying because, even my parents who were very big on physical media, my dad, I can't remember the last time he's put in a DVD. He streams everything digital for movies, which I never would believe the day because he bought a Laserdisc like day one.
Now we're talking.
So it's same thing with CDs. I introduced him to like Spotify. He's been killing Spotify Premium. He hasn't gone back
CDs.
Since, so.
Liner notes.
My pops and my mom have gone full digital. Yeah, they literally packed up all their CDs and thrown in the attic.
Well, we know her solitaire is all digital now. She's not breaking out the deck of cards.
But yeah, so it's easier. Once it gets to the point where it's easier, you win people over. So
also a point to remember, first off, we don't own these things. You can't just bust this out and use it when you want to. But if you own a copy of Super Mario Brothers for NES and you own a Nintendo, it gets harder and harder to hook that Nintendo up to something that's current. So there's an argument to be made there as time goes by. But we're also, all of us live in the metro Atlanta area, and we have access to some sort of broadband internet, right? And there are those who do not have this. And so buying a physical disc, whether that be... What is a physical disc now? It's a patch. It's a download key, typically on Xbox, but Switch games have small patches, and PlayStation games occasionally will have quality of life patches, but most of their games are playable off the disc. But I think internet access has a lot to do with this argument on the same side. And even if you have broadband, you may have a data cap. What does that look like? You want to stream a bunch of music? You never got charged to boot up a CD player and play every CD you have over and over and over. But that may add up if you're streaming high loss or lossless high res audio over a nice sound system or something. So, or streaming a 4K movie with HDR support and all that stuff. Which even at that, we're talking about convenience, but just like audio, if you have a more convenient way of consuming audio, you're taking a hit on quality. Vinyl is an amazing audio quality. You have CD, which is 320. What's that measurement they do for sound? KPS. It's a high bit rate for digital audio. You take a hit if you listen traditionally over Spotify or an Apple Music or something. Even if it says lossless, you're losing something in the transcoding of the audio. Everything digital is ones and zeros. You're not getting the full analog sound of whatever that the artist intended for you to hear that as.
To make your argument, there are always going to be purists, but I think most of the people who've done these things, from what I understand,
that's it.
Access,
I totally understand that.
Access. So you take a hit on the quality because it's easier for you just to press playlist and hit play than worrying about I want to listen to this song. I got to make this mixtape. I got to download this digital copy. I got to find this CD. I got to find this digital copy here. I got to make sure it's playable on this device. I got to make sure this device has a CD player in this car. Oh, it doesn't have a CD player in this car. How am I going to play this on here? So I'm like, for different people who have a whole bunch of this stuff, I can see it. I do too. I have a whole bunch of CDs I encoded and put on my iTunes here that I uploaded
you did that recently,
my
didn't
Apple
you?
Music, which I can stream to any Apple device. Yeah. So I got my whole Nirvana catalog. I went on there and I uploaded some stuff. I don't have to sit there and rebuy some of this stuff. Some of the stuff's on Apple Music. So, I can stream it over once it was uploaded in my Apple Cloud. So, your argument is value. It's right. But I think what he's saying and what he's trying to go here is they're trying to get that middle ground for people, like ease of access. There's always going to be somebody who has a data cap. I've worked with a data cap. I've had a data cap. I had to pay for unlimited.
Yeah.
It's an extra charge. So to bypass the data cap. So there's some areas like in rural Alabama who does not have any internet, or they have to rely on Verizon 5G, which is probably the worst data cap ever. It's like two gigs. So, but
that's like 1/20th of a Call of Duty update.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shoot, there's still people down here. I still see the signs for damn HughesNet, that's satellite internet, which is
cruise ship,
basically dial-up.
Cruise ship
again.
dial-up.
But I do see at some point we've gone to the point with movies where we all seen Gruv.com, GRUV.com, and that's a joint venture between Universal and Warner Brothers, because they know at some point that retail outlets are not going to, a la Best Buy,
Target,
that are not going to sell physical copies. So they got together, Target, and they are like, okay, we'll do direct to the consumer, cut out the middleman, because at this point they don't have to worry about any pushback from said retailers because they're moving out that space anyways. So all that stuff like Gruv.com is sold directly from Warner Brothers Universal. That was something they came up with. They got together. Their movies are on there. That's something that they print the disc. They sell it from that website. It's usually where you get those deals on. So at some point you were going to see that happen in the gaming. That's kind of did it for limited run, but it's always been like on the indie side, on smaller games. Now look at Persona. Persona was on there recently. So I mean, you're starting to see some big games come through. I'm looking forward to the day that I think Microsoft will do that method at some point too, because we just see now that I think was it Josh Fairhurst, the CEO of Limited Run, said in November of last year that he heard that Walmart was phasing out Xbox games, and then we just got that article or that notice a couple days ago on Twitter that they're
pennying out
3 cents.
Someone on the show may have
Starfield.
checked Monday for Starfield. It was ringing up $69.
So
I was gonna get every copy I could get for everyone on this podcast.
But it's not just that game. Everybody's blaming Microsoft. It's like, no, Walmart's getting out of they're not selling any physical Xbox games anymore. So, it's the same. We all have worked retail. I've worked at Best Buy. We had a thing. There's a deal with our retailers where we had to sell a new release game within a certain amount of time, and then we didn't. We always send it back. I know, Richard, you probably weren't part of that often because you were a game-based store. You kept games there. So for us, after 6 months, we didn't sell a game. We send it back, and we get a percentage back. So it was like they pay us back X amount of dollars for something they didn't sell, and they turn around and resell it to like GameStop or something like that later on down the road, or their own web-based stuff on there. So we went through a bit where we would heavily discount the games because we sold them for $15 in the bin, because that was more money we would get letting those go back to the publisher. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's the whole reason why they're getting rid of those for 3 cents is because whatever deal they have from Microsoft, it's
nothing.
They probably cut a deal for that. Who knows? Because Microsoft probably doesn't want all those copies of Starfield coming
or they'll
back.
send them somewhere. They'll find a way to make that back up.
So I mean, at some point we're going to see gaming where it's going to be like they are. Like I mentioned with Ultra Blu-rays. So we're getting stuff where Ultra Blu-rays are being done by Kino, like different studios that are not handled by the realtors. Like Kindergarten Cop is like fucking $40 for the 4K, and it's not being handled by Universal. It's being handled by a third party, but they're putting every fucking thing on that 4K Blu-ray, and it's a specialty. It's not a digital copy included. It's a one-time thing. Once it's gone, it's gone. We're going to see a future where a lot of stuff's going to be happening. So,
and you are seeing that with publishers like VG. Is it VGP? The Canadian retailer. They're your one-stop shop for Final Fantasy 1 through 6, the Pixel Collection. Yeah, VGP. Assessor's right. The physical media, we complain about this and we talk about this, but the numbers don't lie. It's a niche audience, and so you're going to end up. As much as we bemoan the loss of like Game accepting pre-owned games and what GameStop has turned into these days, I think Cesar will tell you he's not been in a retail store like that in years. Like, there's no need to, and all these things are either e-commerce or go into a publisher like a Limited Run or a VGP or what's the third one that's like Limited Run, but I like them because they ship faster. I mean, Strictly Limited, Strictly Limited. Yep, I've had better results with their stuff coming in, and
Play Asia always has the Asia releases,
which is surprising.
That are English.
I give Limited Run a lot of shit, but this one we just went for pre-order not too long ago. I just got it. So
what is that for the audio?
Less than 2 months. So Another Crusade, which was like their Super Mario RPG. It's like an RPG that's like that.
I never heard of that
one. I bought this from them from like 2 months ago. And it just came in. They've been getting better, so they're not perfect. There's some shit they still owe me, but they've been getting better.
Owe me.
So, yeah. I mean, dude, I'm still mad about Dispatch Games because I pre-ordered 2 games for Dispatch Games, and I will bitch them out here, and they're in fucking Tennessee. I paid for these games in 2019. We're in 2024. I still do not have these games, and I keep getting updates from them. It's like, don't worry, man, we're still gonna send you your games. Like, I love going to Twitter.
Let's go up there and pay them a visit.
Twitter is so funny because there's this one guy goes there every week, retweets them because they blocked all their tweets because you can't tweet on. He retweets them every week. All right, where's my update for my game every week? Oh, where's my update for the week? He's been there for the last 5 years.
What are they doing? What kind of business model is that?
Going on it.
Damn.
I don't know, man, because it's like I think it's City Connected. Like one of the games that they had digital copies for. I think was Radi Swergy, which is like a shoot 'em up from Japan. They lost the digital license here. They had to take it off the Nintendo store because they ended up not doing business with them anymore because of all the shit they were causing. So, but they owe me 2 fucking games that I pre-ordered in 2019.
Good
so
Lord.
August 2019.
It's so long
I still
ago.
did not have. It's almost been 5 years. Yeah.
And VGP, like I said, is the exclusive printer of that Final Fantasy 1 through 6 pixel remaster for Switch. They just it's like $500 on eBay, but you can get it from them for $110 Canadian shipped for all 6 games. Yep. It's like, why are people still doing this? Go to this one retailer. But it's like they don't know, or they just want to go to eBay or something.
I think once the normal means of buying games come out there, because I mean even Amazon does the same way. Because have you seen Amazon on some of their Nickelodeon shows? So I've been on there. They offer some like Rocko's Modern Life, you can buy on DVD, and they put a little notice on there like, hey, this is print to made, print to order. So we don't have these disc made. We're gonna as soon as you order, we're gonna make them and ship them to you. So like Amazon's been doing that for the last 5 or 6 years.
That at least.
Shows. So you're gonna see a lot of that in the future, where like you're gonna get this. Some people are gonna like, all right, you want it, we'll make it, ship it to you in a couple weeks, or limited runs, like the Kindergarten Cop one, which I look at, which I want to buy because I love Kindergarten Cop, but I'm not paying $44 for an Ultra Blu-ray of just one.
It's not
a tumor, but for just one movie. Yeah. What was it? What does Daddy do? There was the other one.
I'll take what is Arnold proclaiming it is not for $400.
I still laugh every time Wario puts that tweet on there where he compares some of the scenes from Kindergarten Cop to Silent Hill, because a lot of the stuff uses those assets in there. So, like whoever made Silent Hill 2 was like was a big Kindergarten Cop fan, because like
it's the immediate inspiration for all
from that school. Yeah.
So maybe the true argument here is not. I mean, we want ready access for those. I don't know. Maybe it's the rural areas that do have access to, or the urban areas that do have access to a GameStop or a Best Buy or a Target. But that's what we're losing, and we associate those retailers with, okay, I'm part of this Best Buy program, this gives me free shipping, or I'm a Target Red Card member, I get 5% off, or I'm a GameStop Pro member, if I spend $95,000, I'll get free shipping and 5% off of used games and a digital magazine. So we have these like certain discounts, or maybe a pro-consumer stance on why do I want to spend my money with you, and it's going to come down to, do we have it or not? And that's that's where we are. If we want that physical media, we don't have that. We don't have that tie. Well, PlayAsia still does some sort of like loyalty program and points and stuff, but if we want that physical media, maybe that's where it's getting to, outside of the normal brick and mortar. And I thought e-commerce, when it took off, 20 years ago at this point, 30 years ago at this point, I thought that's where those things would go. But I guess like physical trade-in and still having those readily available from other retail outlets would continue like adding those copies into the ecosystem, and it's not happening anymore. That's the part that sucks. Like people aren't buying these games and trading them at a GameStop, and then you can go buy a used copy.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, it's easier to do music and movies and stream that shit, and most people are not buying physical copies, so that flow was stopped, or slowed, and strained. And some people's like, well, why am I making all this stuff if I can't make any money off the secondhand market?
And on the other end of that, like the artist will tell you. One of my favorite artists has said, like, I make pennies on the Apple Music stream. Like, if you want to support me, buy my merch, buy my physical copies. And the last 2 albums they've released, I bought on CD and vinyl. I got both copies. Like,
it's like It's like you said, they make more money on touring half the time, which is such a.
And that's the reverse. I mean, the music. We can't go into the music industry. We cover games, but it's. With the arguments being made here, you don't own your movies or music. Why do you own your games? So that's where we're getting to.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Less people are going to movie theaters now. So, however that looks like. So,
are we just chasing nostalgia? Like, is this along those same lines as we still want E3 to be this thing, and we want gaming magazines to show us screenshots, and we want a strategy guide, and we get 10% off of that the day we buy the game? Like, what is the whole end goal of what we want to get with this push? Is it just nostalgia?
I mean, at this point, there's very few games that are complete on disc, on card.
Yeah.
There's still some coming through from certain retailers, like you mentioned, like Limited Run. They have patches here and there, but those games are playable.
But is that still just nostalgia? Is that just, like, hey, I got Super Mario 64, if I plug it in, it's gonna work? Is that just a mindset of knowing the person that I said in this household that plays 40 hours of games? They don't know that mindset of just buying a game and it just working forever. They are used to updates and content drops and seasons and battle passes.
I mean, if you take away one of the games, I mean, at one point, would they adapt and go to something else, or would they be like, man, I really wish this game was still
Have they encountered that? Yeah. I know what you're saying, but
that's when you're going to start seeing that, because I mean, most of that stuff is like, oh yeah, we wanted to play Super Mario RPG, but then we get into the habit, like, some of these games are getting remade, or re-released, or so. I mean, at this point, I looked at my PS3 collection, and I'm like, most of these PS3 games that I have been re-released that I really wanted to play. I'm not going to fire Rock Revolution from Konami, or sure, I love to play the Bourne Conspiracy ever so often because it was a bad Jason Bourne game, but I'm not clamoring to like fire it up. I mean, I have an option if I wanted to play it, but like the Red Dead Redemption, the games that I really enjoyed, like, hey, there's a PS4 Switch version of it,
or an Xbox copy that plays great with the backwards compatibility. If you have the infrastructure to download that patch and allow it to play that retail copy.
I mean, the only ones that suck is I did enjoy the hell out of Quantum of Solace, and that because of the licensing that's stuck on that PS3, so I had to have that copy. So I mean, you're going to run into certain things like that. I had
that game. That was a Treyarch game, right?
Bloodstone was my favorite. Quantum Solace was okay, but yeah, I think it's a Treyarch game. But I mean, you're gonna like our Brant's favorite game. I mean, outside of streaming, Brant can't play Infamous unless he has a PS3.
So. Someone on the show may have played Ico maybe 3 hours ago in 3D. On said PS3. Where can you play Ico today?
So, I mean, which is weird. Hopefully we get these publishers look at their back catalog and some of this.
And that's the argument with music and movies and things like that, where they do bring these things forward, right? It's an easier process than just buy the newest PlayStation. The newest blank is going to play your favorite MGM movie. You don't have to worry about what that device is.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, you do have to sacrifice on 90% of the time, or most of the time, you have to sacrifice on quality. You have to have a certain setup to achieve it. So, I mean, if you do know how this
is a niche, nightmare, but as you pointed out, this is a niche audience. If these companies are trying to make money, they're going to cater to the 90 to 95% that are just happy with streaming it and getting whatever convenience they have versus the dedicated setup and the mini disc player and the hi-fi stereo and or laser disc player, as you brought up.
I promise you that I got coworkers at work who get certain streaming services free with their cell phone, which is standard, not even HD, and they're like, I don't care, I'm not paying for this shit. They don't care if it looks like 480p. They're whatever. So they get to watch.
I get it, man. That's 9 out of 10. That's 9 out of 10 people, I would say.
Yeah, because they're like, hey, man, that's money. I talk to coworkers like, man, that's money I have to spend, man. That's other stuff I can worry about right now, because people, other people got like we're lucky we have a luxury we can enjoy. So like I got some coworkers just like, hey, some coworkers are trying to take care of their family. They're like, they don't have money for that shit. So they, if it's easy for them to stream it and at a lower quality, they get to enjoy something, they'll take it. So they don't have that type of to embellish in hobbies like that. So.
I did not know this would end up being the streaming versus physical soapbox that it ended up being, but that was a hell of a discussion. No, it was a hell of a discussion. I thought we could have a whole episode off of this, and we somehow did, just off the news.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're gonna have physical copies until they take away the drives at this point. So.
But
At this point, when the drives go away is when...
And Xbox has already shown you... I don't know. Xbox has shown you a different proposition because they've said your current gen discs don't mean jack shit. But if I pop in a copy of Panzer Dragoon Orta, I'm going to get a 4K 60 frames per second version of that 2003 original Xbox game. Like the best way to play that game. So they put a crazy value proposition out there. Splinter Cell. That is the best version of Splinter Cell, is that Xbox Series X version off that disc.
Yeah, but which works as long as you have that drive. You got to pop that disc in there. I mean, it's cool you can buy a digital copy if you don't mind buying your copy again. So. And
there's, I guess, rumors of them possibly bringing back the backwards compatibility stuff again, or at least bringing it back up. I guess with their new acquisition.
That to me is such a huge part of that ecosystem, and they did the Lord's work on that backwards compatibility. Nobody can knock that Xbox efforts in preserving those and making them future compatible off of the discs that you bought 20 years ago at this point.
But like Brant said, there's a lot of this because they own ID Games. ID Games used to publish through Activision. There was a lot of games that were tied up, so a lot of that stuff will be lined up for them to. You've already seen it. I've seen it on they fucking moved Commander Keen back to ID. Because it was tied up in Activision publishing, so it's like some of that stuff I've seen the copyrights change, so they moved that back to 3D to
Commander Keen. Oof.
Not 3D ROMs, but there's a lot of stuff that they're redoing, like Return to Castle Wolfenstein that came on PS2 and Xbox. That was on Activision. They can move that back over to Bethesda.
Please, so, I have that disc. I have that disc on Xbox. Please give me access to that.
It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, that was a good game. I like that game.
It was a great reboot. Wolfenstein has had a bunch of reboots throughout its history.
There's a lot of good Ravensoft games that came out on 360. So I mean, like Brant said, they probably can do a good. I'd say maybe 50 games they can put on there without
just with the stuff they've procured. Maybe some. The Tony Hawks.
Yeah.
Would they have any music stuff in the Tony Hawks? Is that the hang up there?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can make they can start that remake again that Activision stopped. So I mean, that's going to be a money seller.
So. Oh yeah, 3 and 4 were in the works, but that dried up immediately.
Put Toys for Bob on something. They seem like such a talented studio. Why waste them? Why waste having them a Call of Duty support studio? I'm not calling those shots, but I would look at the amount of studios and talent that's on Call of Duty, and the amount of assumed investment that you're going to get from your Call of Duty player base. Can we not spare some of this talent for some other of those games in that catalog?
I mean, you heard Phil Spencer. I mean, he leaves it up to the studios on what they want to make. So I don't think he's going to dictate. Like, all right, you got to keep making Call of Duty. So I mean, he's okay with they were okay with pushing Call of Duty to buy every 2 years,
right? But
every year. So he says it works whatever.
You still need some direction. Them, so. Your boss says, Cesar, do whatever you want. You're free to. You still need some direction.
That's why you got Matt. That's why you have Matt Booty there. I mean, Matt Booty's there for that.
Oh.
Yeah. Feels like, hey, they got the freedom. Matt's still overseeing. Like,
it's time to smack that booty.
So you still got to make that game. I mean, if you want to, you got to make. Remember, so you still got to make the game. So I mean, but you have so many IPs to pull from now. So you don't have to sit there and fucking crank out Call of Duty.
I'm reminded we usually record on Monday nights and usually at 8-ish Eastern Standard Time, and that for some reason is when the Xbox digital sales drop for the week, right? So as we're recording, we get all these notifications. This is coming out, and it never fails. Every week there will be 1 or 2 Xbox or 360 titles that I see, and I'm like, I might buy this digital license because I might have the physical copy, but it's so much easier to just have that digital license. And then if they end up doing a PlayStation Portal type thing, hey, I have this in my library already. I can just download this and stream it. I think this week's was Darksiders. That Darksiders, even though it's not the remastered version, that 360 one is available for like $2.99 on the Xbox store. It's like, that's a great value for $3. I remember paying $60 for it for PS3 when it came out because there was all that hype behind that first Darksiders game. I bought all the Splinter Cells on Xbox Marketplace to support that backwards compatibility effort because I believe they brought all of them to backwards compatibility. I think you can play all those original Splinter Cell games from Splinter Cell, Pandora tomorrow, Chaos Theory, Double Agent. I believe you can play all those. Blacklist you can play on the newer Xbox consoles. All right, whew, that's a whole episode's worth. We off our soapbox temporarily. Y'all said we were
never.
Y'all said we had minimal games played, so I was leveraging that. I have only played a few rounds of Warzone. I did some tinkering. I'll touch on that. But last Friday, friend of the show, Russell, myself, Cesar, were you in on that one? There was 4 of us, I feel like, or 3 of us.
Friday, yes, because we remember the whole goal now.
And we got back to back. We got first, seconds.
We're trying to get a Jordan. Yeah, we're trying to get a Jordan, but we didn't get the Jordan.
We got first, second, fourth, I think. Maybe fourth, first, second, fourth.
Yeah, we ended up on top. At the end.
Yeah, we had a crazy run. And just some wild rounds. We need to start posting those clips we make so that we don't have to explain them so much in depth. But some good runs. I'll let you touch on that maybe if you wanna jump into some of yours. I'm in a tinkering phase, so this is one of those. Let me hook it up and see what it does. I read a lot about the PlayStation. I've got the PlayStation 3 3D display, which is a 24-inch Sony 3D TV. It looks like Brandt's PSP Go. The front of it looks like a PSP Go. And notoriously...
Funny story, they use those.
They do. The bezels look just like the PSP Go. And it's one of those things. I'm actively looking. I spent more time doing this than actually playing any games, of course. But I want to try to find a setup. I've got a VGA CRT monitor that I want to hook a 360 and a Dreamcast up to with native VGA. And then I want to also have this 3D setup with a 360 with the separate connection, the HDMI connection, and a PS3 for the 3D titles that they have. And so I'm doing all this research, and notoriously the PS3 3D glasses, there's a battery inside there because it's an active 3D. It's not the blue and red passive style that you might see at the movie theaters. The movie theaters aren't quite the blue and red, but it's a similar technology. So this is powered. And the batteries in them go bad. So I'm like, okay, there's probably a chance my 2 glasses that I have that I can get on hand are busted. And there's a switch on the side of it where you turn the battery on and off inside the glasses. So you have to have the battery on to charge them. So that was a key barrier as I'm looking through Reddit where people don't know. Yeah, man,
that's like a stupid footnote that you always got to remember. Like, oh, it's just different.
It's a weird design choice, but thankfully, like 5 hours of charge gives you 30 hours of playback or something. So it's kind of stupid as far as you kind of charge these and forget them. And they come in nice little drawstring bags. So I get both of these charged up. I haven't checked the second pair, but I booted up my PS3, hooked it up to it, and I've got a bunch of 3D capable things that I just wanted to take a look at real quick. I tested out Wipeout HD, which is in 3D. God bless Studio Liverpool. Pour one out for them. Can we please have Studio Liverpool back? I played a little bit of Ico. Ico does not natively boot up to 3D. Usually when you hit one of these SKUs, and these are games I've had downloaded on my PS3 for years now at this point. My primary PS3 Slim, as I've designated it in on PlayStation Network, where you have to designate hardware now. If you want to swap them out, you got to wait 6 months before you do another one. But Ico was downloaded on there, and Ico does not boot initially into a 3D version. You have to like go into the system settings and change, or the game settings and change that to 3D. And Jack and Daxter Collection, all 3 of those titles are PS3 or 3D capable. I think that was it. I was just dabbling with, do I really want to play some of these with these glasses on? They're not comfortable at all. That was I love that 3D tech, especially in the 3DS where you did not have to have glasses or anything like that. And I would love to see that explored again. I know 3D seems to have a cycle where it eventually comes back around, and it's more immersive to me sometimes than a 4K or an HDR or something like that. It's really a different way to consume media and for stories to be told. And they still make 3D Blu-rays. You can still get them. There's still 3D Blu-ray players, and
They do in Europe at least. I always see the announcements.
And
on Twitter.
when I got the PlayStation VR, the first one, that was one of the things Cesar had kind of sold me on telling me about it was, hey, pop in Jurassic Park 3D or something, and you're watching this giant screen in 3D, and that works too. Those Reddit threads are kind of crazy. There is a way to hook the PSVR up to your PS3, and you keep a 3D movie or a 3D game working on your PS4, and it will display the PS3 as a 3D type display. So you can, without having one of those 3D TVs, you can play Ico and Jack and Daxter and MLB The Show 12 and 13 and this other random ass list of games that I've seen. I've not tried this. You have to keep it partially hooked up to the PS4 so that it thinks there's a 3D drive in there. I don't know. This is a wormhole I got into, but there's a crazy way to reenact that and keep that working. But that's it. That's all I dabbled with this week.
I mean, I won't go into details. I mean, other than we came in those back-to-back first place and Warzone. I don't know. I don't think you haven't played any at all this week, have you?
No,
Brian?
I haven't gotten to.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy. I keep forgetting about Saturday night, so I blame everybody but me. But that's my go-to. I did finish Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Finished that up, I think, Sunday, some point Sunday. Yeah. I guess it doesn't matter when. I think it took like about 20 hours. I think if you wanted to go back and do everything, it's probably about a 25, 30-hour game. It does a good balance. It's definitely very Metroidvania. By the end, it gives you enough where you could go back, and I think there were still little puzzles in different areas to get different treasures that I did not try because it required multiple uses and multiple ingenious ways of the powers that you got. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into details of the story because I know at some point you guys will play it. So, you go through the game, we know you played the demo, Brant. So, the Rush of the Samar, which is the ability to run through the air, which is kind of like an extended jump, which is a common thing that's always in any of the Prince of the Persia games. I think even in the original ones, it's something that, or even the 3D ones, they always give you that ability to do that extra run to do a jump. So you unlock that. You unlock what they call the Shadow of the Samar, I believe, Shadow of the Samar, which it leaves you a time duplicate of yourself standing still. So that is also an ability that I don't think was in the demo, but it adds to the puzzle solving in that area, because certain areas you get different spikes. So you will see as you go through that you can press L1 and leave a copy of yourself. That way, if you die, and if you catch it right before you fell, you can summon yourself back to your copy and start over from again. So there are different, you'll see some like elevators or stuff like that only goes down to a certain height that you have to create a copy, let it go down, and so that it uses that ability on there. Okay. Then you have the clairvoyance, which is the ability to like dimension jumping. So like you'll see these blocks that are invisible or see-through, and you can press in your right stick, and it kind of flips you in another dimension where you can jump on that for different platforming. Oh, okay. So that one gets. It's been a while since I had sweaty hands playing games, but this one was one of them. Because it's like there's a bit where you have to jump on different blocks, pressing R3 all the way up to the top. So then you have a dimensional claw, which is kind of like Brand, you would know this because this is kind of like a Metroid-esque, where you get like when you hold down and you use missiles or something to unlock doors. Yeah. That you need missiles on there. So the dimensional claw, what you would do is you would find sometimes it'll be like this fruit thing that explodes on contact or barrows. Then you just suck it into a dimension and then shoot it out at a door or a hole, a wall that you can blow open to get different areas. Then you have gravity wings, which is a fancy way of saying a double jump, which is also another Metroid staple. And then you have the Fabric of Time, which is kind of like which is the final power, which you see these little time eyes, which you can extend to grab and swing across. And you can also use it to pull you to enemies faster. So like all these and use these in cohesion to do the platforming on here, different puzzle solving, which I like I mentioned before, gets very intense in this game, and it's very enjoyable. And there's a lot of times where I wanted to throw the fucking controller down, and I was like, so there's one where I think I was in the fucking lighthouse where I dropped down, and there's like an upgrade Inuit where ingot where you can upgrade your weapons, and it's floating there, and so you have a ability to throw your shikra or whatever that little circle thing was called.
Yeah.
You throw it in there, and you can teleport and put you in there. So they want you to throw it through the metal gate, teleport in there, to get that piece. But the problem is when you land down there, there's no ground, and you can only do that ability when you're standing still. You can't do it by falling. So it's like I said, all right, fuck it. The worst thing that'll happen is I'll die, and then I'll just pop back up there and do it again, right? No, I found a hidden ghost ship because it took me all the way down to the bottom half of the fucking map. So I had to go all the way fucking back, all the way to the top. So it does a very good job with the Metroidvania stuff on there. There's so much that the game has to offer. I mean, I found 2 characters in there. One they call the architect. She's the one who designed all the traps for that city that you're in. And so she's like, hey, if you find these treasures around this whole world, I'll let you get a crack at my hard stuff and the hard traps I made in here. And so I was like, you have to unlock it, and there's more stuff you can do in there. There's another gentleman that they call the Hermit, where I tried to do a little bit of it where they had me jumping on these bells with spikes everywhere. And there's like very, very little room for error. So, I mean, if you enjoy that aspect of the game, there's some very challenging stuff on there. Even though the story seems to be short, but it is short and sweet. So I did enjoy it. It doesn't have that like those thrills of like, let's say God of War, where it goes into details and explores every angle, stuff like there. I think it does a very good job of telling a good, complete story,
concise,
with some room to do improvements for if they ever wanted to come back and like, oh, we want to hit this particular story beat that we didn't go into details with a DLC or whatever. They wanted to do that. They never had that option in there. It looks like it would, but they could. They can expand upon it. So I think it does a very good job on it. It's very well crafted. It would be tough for it to dethrone. Like, this is probably, if we did a game of the month, it's probably my game of the month so far. And we still have 8 days ago. We still have Tekken coming out. I'm not playing Like a Dragon because I'm not there yet. So I am getting Tekken though. I've always been a huge Tekken fan. But that's it. I mean, that's pretty much it for Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. I mean, I enjoy my stay in there. I do probably plan to go back here periodically and try to get some of those other items I'm missing, because I mean those fucking Xerxes coins, man, they're shit. The Xerxes coins are all over, and there's literally just spikes everywhere in some areas. So you have to do platforming and hang on walls and do everything you can and grab the coin, but you don't keep that coin until you touch solid ground again. So then you have to go back down, go through everything, and then touch solid ground, because if you die, then you have to go start from the process from the beginning. So there is a lot of challenge in this game, and Brain, you probably enjoy it since you're a connoisseur of Metroidvania games and you want something different. This will probably scratch that itch for you. I mean, I don't know if you would go through and get everything. It depends on how you feel when you play the game, but it is enough variety in there where it's not stale. They did a good job on taking a existing franchise and adapting it, which is something that should have been done, I think, decades ago, probably. I mean, this Prince of Persia is made for this Metroidvania. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the 3D ones, at least the PS2, Xbox ones, here and there on the PS3 ones. But they've done a really good job with it. I won't take too much more time. Outside of that, I'll do my bullshit farming for free Game Pass. So I typically, one of the requirements is to get an achievement a day. You get 5 points, but then you overall get 1,000 points. I need 10,000 points a month to get a free copy to get free month of Game Pass. So that Christmas sale, I stocked up on them because they had the 3 months for sale, and I sat there and bought like a 2 years worth for all the points I was accumulating. But it's neither here and there. So I ended up going through, and this came out on PlayStation first, and this came out on Game Pass. It's a game called Chicory. I don't know if you guys played it or not.
Colorful Tale or something?
So,
A Colorful Tale, yeah.
I didn't know what I was expecting because I looked online. I just did the guide, like, all right, easy ways to get achievements where I don't have to do a lot of bullshit. Just play the game. That's the one I chose. And then this is kind of like a entry-level Zelda game, like a 2D Zelda game. So you have the overworld map. You have different dungeons. You have different bosses. They're very Zelda-esque, but it's not difficult. It's not like I've died on a boss and it takes me right there. It doesn't punish you like it does with the Zelda game and throw you in the beginning of the dungeon.
That's nice.
So it's like if it's somebody who's new to this formula, they would enjoy it. The story is pretty interesting because you start out like this dog creature, and it's named after your favorite food. Because the first thing it asks you is, "What's your favorite food?" I fucked around, just put pizza, whatever. And they're in this like
nice.
So the character's name is Pizza. So they're in this little castle area where they have the wielder of the brush, and she's just a janitor. All she does is sweep up the floor. And so she went into the hallway, and all the color in the world's disappeared. It's all black and white. And so the wielder of the brush is Chicory, which is a bunny. And when she goes in the hallway to check out what's going on, she just sees the brush on the ground, and Chicory's not answering. So she's like, looks at Chicory as like a role model, somebody she looks up to. She loves her art and everything. So she takes up the brush. And it's like, you know what? I'm just going to paint some stuff around. And just because I have something I'm not supposed to have. So you can literally go around and paint and all. It's like a coloring book. It's all white and black lines. You go through and paint everything on there. And as you go through the story, you end up meeting Blackberry, which was the previous owner of the brush. And they talk about this evilness in the dark, this up there, and how the main character is not supposed to have this brush. It should be Chicory's. And, it's about a way, so far, I've only maybe about chapter 2. It's about finding themselves, and Chicory, you find out, is suffering from depression. You don't know what's doing it and why she's like that. She doesn't live up to the expectation of wanting to be the wielder of the brush. She's let it beat her down. She never feels she's good enough. So it has a lot of those aspects in there in that story where she's like, no, you just take the brush. I don't want it. I don't feel like my art's good enough.
Wow.
And, you have somebody that she looks up, the main character that looks up to Chicory. It's like, I love your art. It's great. Why are you so hard on you? It's like everything you do is great, and it's like those aspects on there. It's the story that's going on. And as you go through and find out what this evilness is running in the background. And so like it's like you do these dungeons, which are very like Legend of Zelda. So like you find these balls that blow up, and you color them in and they explode like bombs. So you gotta like push them around and blow up these entrances and go around. It's like an entry level Zelda game. It's not very difficult. It's easy to figure out. If you get lost, you can get in the phone booth, kind of like a la Bill and Ted, call your mom and dad. So your mom will tell you like, hey, you should be doing this. And, but I could put your dad on the line. He'll give you more help. And your dad's over here trying to reach for the phone. So you can say yes or no. And he'll tell you exactly what to do if you're lost. Like, yeah, what you need to do is go over here and do this.
That's helpful.
And so, yeah, it's done very well. Where it's not challenging and it doesn't feel frustrating, and it's good you enjoy a story that's well done. Because I think I've done 2 boss battles, and they're just giant eyes, and so you take this paintbrush and go across their eyes when you can only attack them when they're red. And so it's like you have to survive like this onslaught of lasers and all this stuff, like Undertale-esque. Like the attacks are it looks like a fucking Undertale boss. That's what it looks like. That's what it reminded me of when I was singing on there. And the music's done by Lena Rain, I think that's what her name is. And the music's very fucking good. She's a good composer, man. I loved her working.
She's an engineer too. She mods consoles and stuff. If I'm thinking the right
I forgot what she did. No, the other person I know you're talking about. She's somebody else different. I think
it's a 2 gig download on Game Pass. I'm setting it to my Xbox now. I remember when Shuhei was talking about this when it was on PlayStation.
Yeah, and I'm kind of upset that I missed out on it. And the only reason why I took a chance on it is because I was doing the farming for free achievements. But I've been enjoying my play of it so far. She did Celeste also. Celeste is the music she did on that. But the music on here is really, really fucking good. But I mean, I've enjoyed my time with it. I'm only there's 6 chapters, and Richard, I guess if your young ones wanted to play something that was like Zelda, I mean, they played Zelda and enjoyed it. But if they wanted to play something Zelda, which is easier, in my opinion, it's easier not to get lost, but still has the same exploration in there where you can kind of go around and do stuff and figure stuff out. It does a very good balance where you can get people on that type of system. And I've been missing some old school Zelda, so it's been scratching that itch for me. But yeah, that's it for me. I took up like 20 minutes of your time. That's the end of my TED Talk.
20 fulfilling minutes, SR.
Yeah.
Not much. I was running around a lot this past weekend. I didn't get a chance to play a lot. Yeah, none of us did our
usual Saturday night Call of Duty or Halo or anything.
I did take my Steam Deck with me and was able to boot up some classic games. I sat on the couch at where I was and played some Pepsi Man because I needed something mindless to play.
Oh, good old
so I was
Pepsi
running
Man.
through some Pepsi Man. And then and showing it to my nephew, he just kept like, what? Why do I keep hearing Pepsi Man over and over? And then I showed him. He's like, that looks crazy.
So now he's a Pepsi Man addict.
And then, damn, what else? I booted up some Pokemon Stadium and just played, I think 3 rounds.
On Steam Deck or the Switch
Pokemon
online?
Stadium. On
Deck.
the Steam Deck. Both on the Steam Deck via MU Deck. My legitimate backups.
Yes.
Brand, no matter what you say, if you say MU Deck, I always know you always use your legitimate backups.
We know you have this.
In your emulation lifestyles.
It's a legitimate backup of your flash card containing those ROMs.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of physical media, I do have some
games acquired.
Yeah.
So first off, my Persona 3 Portable for Switch came in.
Good pickup.
Cesar showed his the other day. On top of that, there are 3 more Switch games, which I probably should have already owned, but just didn't. And there's also been like this weird scarcity with a couple of the Switch games, like supposedly going out of print, which is, I don't think a true thing. I think it was somebody talked about it and was saying that it's actually a website that's tracking like the physical stock of I believe it's them on Amazon.
I feel like Mario Odyssey was on that
not
list, and I was like, I don't know that Mario Odyssey would go out of print for Nintendo.
Yeah, Mario Odyssey. Yeah. So, but 2 of those games that were on the list were Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Donkey Kong
Wii
Tropical
U ports,
Freeze.
ironically. Superior ports from the Wii U for the Switch.
And then I also got Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition.
You completed the trilogy? The quadrology?
2 is on the way. Because I actually did not have 2. I've had 3 here forever.
It's the RPG trilogy of our generation. I just got to finish it. I'm tired of people telling me that.
I hear it's great. I've played many hours of 1 and 2.
I hear those. I beat the shit out of 1. I'm going through it for a second time. I love 1. And second one, I don't want to take up Brant's time, but the second one, the difficulty in that game is
with the things kiting, things kiting across at you.
Yeah, I remember.
It's unreal. Like the jumps and difficulties.
I didn't aggro you, bitch. Stay away from me. I need to give that first one another shot.
I remember it being a listener at that point, and y'all talking about. I guess it had to be 2, and how you'd walk into an area and immediately get destroyed. It's like, well, guess I'm not supposed to be
near
here.
You. Like, don't even come pick a fight with me.
That took the fun out of it for me, because I got to chapter 4. I got pretty far, and I probably need to start over again because I probably vaguely remember some stuff on there. But I need to go through it again. I think they went back and they tailored the abilities on like the difficulty now. I think they went there, and it's not as, if you go in the settings, you can make it more enjoyable. But it's one of the ones that a lot of people fondly talk about that just fucking took me out the game. But
yeah.
And then I haven't done 3 at all, and which all ties everything together. And I love those type of RPGs, so because I love Legend of Heroes, the Trails games, which have done a pretty good job of tying everything together. So I'm interested in getting back into that at some point. But I'm sorry, Brant. Continue with your games.
No, that's it for me. That's everything.
I got next week. I may have a huge games acquired list because I got a good bit of stuff coming in. So. Well, because I got fucked over because I usually buy stuff in bulk, and then like I bought something from, and you guys know you bought it from PlayAsia. I bought something that was supposed to get to me like in summer of last year, and they're like, "Oh, one of your games got pushed back to January 25th," and I'm like, I paid that shit off like almost a year ago, and it's a box full of shit that they haven't shipped to me yet. They're like, yeah, we'll ship it to you when all your games are released, and I'm like, I'm finally gonna get it unless in the next 2 days. And magically, oh, you know what? They pushed it back again.
Classic.
Damn.
But to also know that you saw that Limited Run is updating their shipping companies, where now you can solo ship games now. So if they do push back your game, you can say, "Hey, do you want to ship this one earlier?" You can pay extra money and ship that game earlier.
That's convenient.
So that feature's coming. So
Okay.
Very convenient. All right. I think that's it for me, too. You guys good? Anything else you want to add?
That's it.
send all your Steam game recommendations
Renee
to Renee.
needs
He's a
Friend me, Renee. I sent you a friend request like forever ago, and I just looked.
He's on here. He's on Steam.
He's a He's a sweet baby-born Steam Deck Jesus.
Okay. I was like, is this the profile name? When do you read now?
Ricky
here?
Bobby.
Yeah. He has
Sweet
one game to his name.
baby-born Steam Deck Jesus. That's crazy. Fresh out of the womb. It's only one title.
Yeah. As soon as it comes out the womb, we just give him a controller. Like, hey man, you play it on this device here, and it's like, oh, what is this? How do I acquire said games? What should I buy?
Oh, he's added me. He's got me on Steam already.
Yeah.
One badge, two friends, one game.
Yeah, Renee's awesome. I'm gonna leave it up to him to play the naughty games, because I think he will be the one that's brave enough to get into those.
Play the naughty games.
Yeah. Because I mean, I not to put Renee in the fire, but I've looked at his Switch games he played recently, and it's all hentai girl or something. I was like,
oh no.
Oh, Renee, no. I was like, he's gonna get the Steam Decks and play Tentacle Girl.
This Evil Tonight game
Renee,
looks good. Yeah, I know.
It does, right? It looks like Resident Evil on like a Resident Evil and like it came on Super Nintendo, right? It looks borderline inappropriate, but you look at
Steam
it.
Deck verified. Cool. He picked out a good one. Oh shit. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week, and we will catch you next week. Bye.
See ya.
Adios.